Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And we finally, for the very first time, have the rerun of the Exalted Champions Veldora Beatdown battle. So if you were not playing last year at, 11 months from now, or 11 months ago, then you would not have been able to get this Veldora, who is still a fairly good free-to-play option. So all the beatdown battles are here up to Inferno 3, because back then we didn't have dire difficulties yet. And obviously, since this is a returning beatdown battle, I will have the videos from last year linked in the video description for some other teams that you can use to clear it. But today we're going to use some of the newer teams that have come out since the release of this beatdown battle originally in April of 2024. And for most of them, we're actually going to go into Inferno 3, because if it can clear Inferno 3, you bet your sweet ass it can clear EX2 to get that dupe of Veldora. So I just wanted to give myself a little bit of extra challenge. If you're only worried about getting Veldora and you only want to go to EX2, then there are a great number, many of teams that can do this. Especially if you have actually Exalted Champion Velzard. That makes your life so much easier. But we're going to go into Inferno 3 for these first couple of teams and just see how well that goes. Okay, first off, if they didn't have Reckoning back then, so they had Vengeance, which they did nerf, but you can use Reckoning in this fight if, and that a big if, you do not put some kind of purple status effect on your head. So we're going to run the quote-unquote free-to-play Reckoning team. Carrion with the AoE heal charm, Aaron, Trya, Isis, Water, Alice, and then Shizu. So this team, all built around the Reckoning gimmick. Now, in order to get around Vengeance when it originally came out, if you put a purple status, like if you put the continuous heal from Earth Frieren, if you put the HP increase from Elmesia or Frey, he will remove it, and then you just lose your Reckoning stacks. But if you just simply give yourself the Reckoning stacks, which are green statuses, for some reason, Soe doesn't give a shit about that. And I did test this. Like, I did bring Frey in here, used her HP thing, and Frieren, he wipes it immediately. If you bring Hinata from Sparkle of Youth and use her HP field, it also does not count. So you can have that up, too. So you can be even easier. But I wanted to use the free-to-play version just to show that it's possible. And if it can do Inferno 3, it can do EX2 quite easily. So we're up to, 5 stacks on Isis. We just have to make it to turn 5 to begin seeing the damage. But we only have one skill at this point that's giving us Reckoning, because Body and Spirit skills are sealed. So we can't use the other skill from Shizu to get an extra 3 stacks of Reckoning per turn, which really does cut back on what we're getting. And especially if you don't have a heal charm on Carrion, then you're going to be really hard-pressed to do this, free-to-play at least. Because of the Body and Spirit seal, you also can't heal for a couple of turns, so like bringing Windlumi or someone to push extra stacks of Reckoning is not effective most of the time. And then after turn 5, he really starts hitting you hard, which can be a detriment, which is why this run, while we do win, is not perfect in any way, shape, or form. So we're going to have to make do with whatever stacks we can get with Shizu. We're going to keep her in the back because she has the most. So boom, okay, and then you go away. We just don't want anyone to die prematurely. Turn 4, he does kind of hit hard because this is Inferno 3. And, well, turn 5 he hits hard, especially with his ult. So this is the final turn that Reckoning will... Well, actually, this is the turn that Reckoning will take effect. So we have 6, 8, none, 11, and then whatever else is on Isis in the back. We don't have any HP raising skills. We could use Aaron's HP raise, but it's sealed because we keep leaving her in the back. And Shizu is also left in the back, so she didn't drop the seal off either. And then Soe hits, and then Reckoning will come in, and it does 1.3 million damage, which is quite a hefty amount, but Soe has 3 million HP, so we're going to need to go a bit further. But after turn 5, he really starts to hit you. He ults for like 60k, He has multiple follow-up orbs that hit you for quite a bit, so people are going to start dropping like flies. And it's really up to whatever kind of Reckoning stacks you have after that to really whittle him down. So this might be a tough sell for Inferno 3 with people who don't have as good units with good gear, because Tria's dead, and then Alice is dead, and that leaves us with 3. And then almost 1 million damage on Reckoning, so we have one more turn. But he already killed 2 people, so that really cuts down on the amount of Reckoning damage that we can actually do here. And he's going to ult us again, with a lot of buffs. So there's Aaron dead, and then there's Isis dead, and then with the remaining 18 stacks on Shizu, we were able to kill him, but literally everyone but her died. So we're not 3-starring this fight. But it is Inferno 3, and it was cleared, so that's the most important thing. And again, if you're doing 1 point something million damage on the turn 5, then it'll clear EX2 nice, quick, and in a hurry on turn 5. So this can get the job done. Okay, next up is the Frieren team, or mostly the Frieren team. So Himmel, free-to-play Stark, Frieren herself. We're going to bring free-to-play Aaron just so we get that turn 1 orb change and really gets us off on a good path. Fern for the single target damage, and then we brought the Windmast hero for the triple orb steal. It could be any triple orb stealer, or you could just bring someone else and try and force the ult with just the traditional oranges that Himmel's giving. Either way, it's fine. We're going to have more than enough damage here. So we've got a free-to-play, 2 free-to-play units in Stark. We're not going to be able to use his synergy down skill because it's a taunt and that's a body and spirit skill, and that does get sealed after a while. Also, I think he wipes it off anyways, so that's not great. But let's go ahead and just send these 6 orbs by using the Aaron convert. We're going to leave the hero and Fern in the back, so hopefully someone on turn 2 has 3 orbs, and Aaron gets 3 orbs, which is great. So let's go ahead and steal those Aaron orbs, and then we'll steal. There we go. And then we'll bring in the Fern. And hold on 1 second. Okay, we're back. My Star Wars tapestry that I bought at Comic-Con came in. I'll probably post a picture about it on YouTube or something. But we're going to go to turn 5, so we might as well use the Frieren magic state now, because it's not sealed yet, and it takes 3 turns, which puts us at turn 5 when it actually activates. So it'll have the extra, 80% element resistance down, and now we don't have to really worry about it being sealed anymore. What is sealed is Stark's taunt, so we're not going to get any synergy resistance down now, at least until he's unsealed, which happens right on turn 5, so we might be able to use it once, maybe. But that's about it. More importantly, though, we have the EX ult for Fern, so that's the only thing that we really, really care about. If we had an ult with Frieren, yeah, we could also do that. But the attack buff that Frieren has versus, the personal magic buff that Fern has are not the same. So, we're going to go activate Fern's personal buff now. We'll ult swap her away so we have 5 oranges and the Stark ult. And then we can save the Fern buff and leave her in the back until next turn. And we'll make back all of our points here on these oranges because they're super buffed up. And our skill cap is not that high because we're only going to 5 turns instead of 8 turns. So, yeah, nothing damage right there. Stark should be unsealed after this turn. If we have enough points to use it, then sure, why not? It's not like we need to use anything else, because Aaron and the Master Hero are not contributing to damage. So, there's the element down. That helps Fern out, technically, I guess, by a little bit. So we'll bring her in for Aaron. She has a lot of orbs. And then we'll use the taunt, the ult and synergy, and then the ult up, or EX ult up and ult down. And then we'll just simply go ahead and nuke. We could use another stack of Himmel, if we really wanted to, but it's unnecessary. Because we did 3.6, and Zoe only has 3 and change. So, there we go. There's the Frieren team taking on Inferno 3. And again, if it can do Inferno 3, it can sure as hell do EX2. Okay, I know you don't want to run it, but Divine General, this is a green orb stage, and this is a green orb team, regardless of how frustrating it is to actually run. We're going to use the full team, though, which you may or may not actually have. Maybe you don't have Hero or Blanc or something, but There is pierce resistance and crit resistance in this stage, but Elmesia will seal both of those. So if you don't have the new hero, you can just bring the old masked hero and you can freely crit, and you'll still have access to the rewind, which is fine. You'll just lose a character that's not on Divine General, which is kind of unfortunate, but oh well. Here, I mean, 5 greens with the green buff from Diablo will get us an Elmesia. Every time we try and use the... okay, so let's rewind. Every time you use Elmesia, you'll put the sealing status on, but as soon as the turn ends, he'll remove it. So you're not actually going to get any of the alt gauge from the Enamor skill, but on turn 5, you can still apply it, and you can still seal his crit resistance or pierce resistance, because he has to... He only removes it when it's his turn to act. So if you nuke before that, then you're fine. Okay, well that's awful. Let's jump back in. That's a little better. We're just gonna send these Blanc orbs, or the oranges, one of the two. There we go. The oranges, we'll try and bring in some extra green so that turn 3 we can... there we go, yeah. Fine, that'll work. But even if you don't have Blanc, you could just nuke with Raphael. Blanc's big time like alt buff ability is not really that great, considering you're already getting a lot of stacks of alt damage from Raphael. So if you only have Raphael and no Blanc, like, you're gonna be fine. You'll miss out on the ability to alt swap, but I mean, if you play your cards right with the rewind, you can just get the EX alt on whatever rewind turn and not have to even ever alt swap, because the secondary effect for Blanc doesn't matter, because no one here is a wind character, so weakness resistance down doesn't mean jack crap. So let's green buff, let's alt swap. We'll bring in Raphael this turn for Diablo, since we've already used his green buff, and then we'll alt rush with the hero. And again, if you don't have this hero, you use the old hero. The process is still the same, you just won't get that extra free alt gauge, which doesn't really matter because we have a bunch of Blanc orbs here anyways, so we would have gotten her EX alt regardless. And now we'll just orb change and stack, and orb change and stack, and then we'll cut over here to when we actually send them, so you don't have to watch me click a button 10,000 times. And then on the rewind turn, we've made all the points back, and we're going to orb change and stack and use Elmesia, and then we'll cut ahead. And yep, there we go. Alright, so now we've sent the orbs. Oh my god, we skipped like a whole fucking minute of this clip. That's so stupid. But there we go. Now it is turn 5, and we are ready to nuke with 2 EX alts. So we'll bring the hero in for the pierce, or the old hero for the crit, whatever works for you. We'll bring Diablo in, use the synergy buff, and the dark and space buff. We're going to skip Blanc's buff because it's so stupid and useless. And then we'll use one more stack of Elmesia for the attack. And then we'll send a few other stacks of Raphael, and then we'll nuke. And Blanc does 4.4 million damage. So, it took forever. It's not very fun, but it'll clear Inferno 3, and it'll clear an EX2 as well. Alright, the last Inferno 3 team I have for you is going to be some kind of hodgepodge Velzard and Fern team. So, Velzard, obviously. The old masked hero, just for the rewind. We can't crit this stage, so there's no point using that skill. If you don't have her and you somehow have the new Divine General hero, you could still use her. I'm just here for the rewind skill. Isis for the green buff. The idle Shuna to activate synergy rate, so we can use Fern's synergy power buff. You know, Shuna herself, she gives, what, 40% for magic, but it's obviously not 100% like Fern does, so we just need someone to give her the 100% synergy rate. And then Fern herself has the 2 big-time buffs that she's going to have. And then we've got first anniversary Dark Milim. Now, she is skill-fused, which means that we can handle the turn 1 orb change of 2 oranges, because she'll convert any 2 orbs to green. If she's not skill-fused, then you might have to bring, like, instead of Isis, you bring free-to-play Aaron or an orange converter, and then instead of Shuna, you bring, like, Divine General Diablo. That way you can still get the synergy buff and still have the green buff active. That's the reason why Isis is here, is for the green buff. We don't ever need her orb change. We just need Milim's orb change here. And she's also going to give the normal alt buff to Fern, because Fern's doing EX alt. And, yeah. So turn 1, again, Milim with her skill fusion will be able to handle those 2 oranges. If you don't have her skill fused, you'll have to rearrange the team a little bit into something that works for you. But let's do that. On the plus side, if you do bring Diablo, you can use his green buff immediately. You can get some extra points and some extra gauge out of it, because it's free, right? But here, Milim is on Exalted Champions, technically, so you could use this team without Fern, and you could clear, like, EX2, right? Because Milim can do 600,000 damage, given the correct setup, and you can pierce that stage as well. So you could bring a pierce support unit instead. But we got a lot of Fern orbs, but we don't have an alt swap. Well, we do technically have an alt swapper in Shuna, but we're not going to bring her in. So let's get an alt for Fern, now that we've used the green buff from Isis and sent her away. This will give us a lot of points, a lot of protection gauge. The rewind kicks in, and we pray that we get like 2 more orbs for her, and we get 1. Unfortunate, but it is what it is. Nothing we can really do here except use Velzard again, because we're capped out on her almost after this turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool. Now, we still need a little bit of gauge for Fern. Like, we needed the 2 orbs, but we were short. But here, I mean, it works out fine. So, we can go to turn 5 very easily. So now we can just bring in Shuna for Milim, and then use the alt swap. That'll give us the full hand, and we'll now have 4 Fern orbs. We've got a double protector gauge for Velzard, so there's no point in holding onto it. So go ahead and send this, we'll get our EX ult, and we're still at 165 points, which means we're going to have plenty next turn to hold on to some buffs, which is what we're going to need to do in order to nuke properly. So the EX ult, turn 4, we're going to hold on to Fern's personal buff, the synergy power, and the magic attack buff. And then we're also going to hold on to Shuna's buff, because it's activating synergy rate, so that Fern can actually use her synergy power buff. So we'll hold on to both of those, we'll send them away, and then we'll do this, another full 6-hand send, and as long as we can get enough points to use Fern's other skill and Milim's buff, then we're going to be looking really good. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Shuna is type disadvantage, so maybe always keep her in the back so she doesn't take that much damage, because Zoe, can hit hard sometimes. But this is the final turn. Let's bring Fern in for Shuna, and that's all we need. So then we'll use the buff, and the debuff technically. Boom, boom. 70% alt, 100% EX alt, 100% alt resistance down, the 50% element buff, the Drago effect, the synergy power, the magic buff, and now Milim does 370, and Fern does 3.8 million, so 800k more than what we needed to clear a full HP Zoe. But there we go. That is the last Inferno 3 team I have for you, and of course if it works for Inferno 3, it works for EX2. And now we'll cut back to something a little bit not as good. Okay, so we're going to drop the difficulty down to EX2 now, and use a makeshift Visions of Coleus team. Now, this is the 2nd anniversary team, so it came out 6 months before Exalted Champions, and when checking over my videos, I don't know why I didn't use this team, but I mean, it can get the job done. It's gonna work very heavily on the rainbow orbs. So, I mean, there are other blue teams that have come out since Exalted Champions released, but unless you have some kind of rainbow orb changer, blue orbs are giving you like an 85% debuff, and there are currently no real good ways to buff those up, unlike green orbs. They have so many different kind of buff characters. The only thing we have for them is rainbow orb changers. So Coleus Rimuru is going to be very, very important here. If he had his skill fusion, he would be much more impactful as well, but mine is not skill fused. I'll probably do that eventually, but this is for people that maybe just have him and this team, since it's quite old now. But it's still very capable, strong single target DPSs, and again, this is EX2. Zoe does not have 3 million HP. He has 600,000, and so we can do 600,000 damage with this team very easily with 3 strong single target ladies who all, maybe not by themselves, but with some extra help, 2 of them can get the job done. because we're all type neutral. We have the synergy buff, which synergy is the main focus of this stage. And also, EX2 does not nerf Pierce either. It only has resistance against crit. So you could get away with using a Pierce team instead. Okay, that didn't work out very well, so let's get back to turn 3 here. I really gotta remember to vet these. Sometimes there's like 5 seconds in between recordings where I, do the video and then I voice over. Sometimes there's a few hours. Sometimes there's a few days. And you'll really notice when it's been a while because I don't remember what happens. And I leave in some failed runs or something. But here, that worked out. We have the rainbow orbs on turn 3, so that gave us the ult for both him and Jean. Got Violet, close-ish. But you know what? We're just going to say, fuck it. So we're going to bank on Jean killing with a little bit of extra help from Rimuru, even though he's not going to get like that much damage on him because he's an AoE. But hey, it'll work. We all have synergy, we all have an ult buff, we all have the magic buff. So Rimuru does 120, sure, and then Jean does 431. So yeah, we were able to do it. If you need a little bit more damage, just go to turn 5 and get like Violet's ult too, and that'll work. But there's Visions of Coleus. It very much requires the rainbow orbs from Rimuru though. Cannot understate that, but it can do EX2. Okay, I think that's going to do it. Obviously, there are a lot of other teams. If you have like any kind of solid single target DPS and you have access to Protector Velzard, then you could probably get at least EX2 done. Inferno 3 will have these teams. We'll have the old teams that I had from the original video last year and down below, so check those out. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.